The scoreboard says 33-6, but even that doesn't tell the full story of how completely the Dallas Cowboys overwhelmed the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday Night Football. This wasn't just a win, it was a controlled, calculated dismantling. If Dallas wanted to, this game could have ended 40-6 without breaking a sweat. That's how lopsided it truly was. But before we go any deeper into this victory, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share it with your friends, and of course, hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Now, let's get into it. I want to hear from you. Drop your one-word reaction to this Cowboys performance. My word? Necessary. Dallas needed a night like this. Not just to keep pace, not just to calm the noise, but to remind everyone exactly who they can be when they lock in and play to their standard. And the biggest takeaway from tonight? The Cowboys dominated every single phase of the game. Offense. Defense. Special teams. All of it. There wasn't a single moment where the Raiders looked like they had control. The defensive prediction coming into this matchup was bold, that we'd see Dallas' best defensive performance of the season. And they delivered. They owned the red zone. They shut down the run game. And the Raiders' offense? It never even had a pulse. 12 rushing attempts, for 27 yards. 1 third-down conversion in the red zone. Nothing came easy for them. Then there's Quinnen Williams, who turned this game into his personal highlight reel. The Raiders had no answers for him. 4 tackles. A tackle for loss. 1.5 sacks. 5 quarterback hits. 7 pressures on 29 pass rush snaps. That's domination at the line of scrimmage. And he wasn't alone. Osa Odigizua matched that energy with relentless pressure of his own, 6 pressures on the night. Those two wrecked the interior of the Raiders' offense from start to finish. Offensively, Dallas simply had the better players at every key position: quarterback, running back, WR1, WR2. They controlled the game with efficiency. The only real blemish was the early forced fumble, and even that didn't shake anything. Terrence Steele held up, Dak settled in, and the Cowboys kept their foot on the gas. So now I'll ask you this: how do you grade the Cowboys' performance? A, B, C, D, or F? Let me know. Your vote matters, and I want to see how you felt about this statement win. This is exactly the version of the Dallas Cowboys defense fans have been waiting for: aggressive, relentless, and flat-out overwhelming. With Quinnen Williams anchoring the interior, the Raiders' offensive line never stood a chance. He tore through their protection over and over again, and the Raiders were so desperate late in the game that they were still calling bubble screens while trailing by 3 scores in the fourth quarter. That's how suffocating the pressure was. Williams delivered everything Dallas hoped he'd bring. Pure disruption. Pure dominance. And Osa Odigizua matched that intensity snap for snap. Nearly 2 sacks. 3 quarterback hits. Wave after wave of pressure that kept the Raiders gasping for answers they simply didn't have. As a unit, the Cowboys racked up 11 quarterback hits, and the majority of them came from their 2 interior wrecking balls. Add in the impact from Kenny Clark, and it was a full-on demolition of the Raiders' blocking schemes. On the other side of the ball, the Raiders' defensive strategy fell apart quickly. They tried doubling CeeDee Lamb and putting Eric Stokes on an island against George Pickens, and it backfired in the loudest way possible. Even after both Pickens and Lamb spent the opening drive on the sideline, Pickens torched the Raiders from the moment he stepped back onto the field. 11 targets. 9 catches. 144 yards and a touchdown. He dominated every matchup they threw at him. Single coverage was a disaster. Soft zones didn't work. Tight man didn't work. Nothing worked. Outside of Lamb's one costly drop on 4th down, a play that could have easily gone for 6, the Cowboys' receiving core was nearly flawless. Pickens, especially, looked unstoppable. Early coverage numbers paint the picture. Eric Stokes, for targets, 3 catches allowed for 44 yards. Devin White, 2 catches allowed for 22 yards. Jamal Adams, 1 catch allowed for 19. Kyle Kelly, 3 catches allowed for 59 yards and a touchdown. The Raiders simply couldn't hang with Pickens. Every time Dallas needed a spark, he delivered. This is exactly why the Cowboys paired Pickens and Lamb together, 2 receivers who forced defenses into losing choices. And against Las Vegas, that mismatch was on full display. Dak Prescott was in complete command from the opening drive. Even with stretches of overly conservative play calling, he kept the offense moving, attacking the Raiders' defense with patience and precision. The stat line says it all: 25 of 33, 268 yards, and 4 touchdowns, giving him the most 4-touchdown games in Cowboys history. That's elite quarterback play. Outside of the lone strip sack, where Max Crosby finally broke through, Dak was nearly flawless. And credit to the offensive line, they held their ground. Tyler Guyton especially delivered one of his cleanest performances of the season. He didn't just survive, he looked confident, controlled, and technically sharp. If Prescott gets protection like that consistently, the Cowboys will be in position to win almost every matchup they play. And honestly, it should have been 5 touchdowns. If CeeDee Lamb hauls in that near score, this game gets even more lopsided. Fans and fantasy owners alike felt that one. But everything else? Dallas executed. Across the board. And now the focus shifts to Sunday, a massive showdown with the Philadelphia Eagles. This is the type of game that defines a season. The Cowboys cannot afford to stumble. If they're serious about their playoff push, they have to take down Philadelphia. No excuses. Now let's talk defense, because this performance was a masterclass in what this unit wants to be at its core: bend but don't break, and then break you when it matters most. 4 sacks. A safety. A beautifully timed tip drill interception by Marist Bell. We saw the best version of Darren Bland, the corners holding tight in coverage, and the linebackers staying disciplined instead of becoming liabilities. Up front, the trio of Osa Odigizua, Kenny Clark, and of course Quinnen Williams turned the trenches into chaos all night long. The Raiders didn't reach the end zone until garbage time in the fourth quarter. And even then, it felt more like a formality than a real threat. That's the identity this defense wants: tough, smothering, opportunistic. And against Las Vegas, they lived up to it. Their leading non-tight end receiver finished with just 47 yards. That tells you everything. The Raiders could barely generate anything through the air. Their receivers were bottled up from start to finish: 3 catches for 33 yards, 1 catch for 9 yards, and nothing on play action that ever threatened the Cowboys' secondary. Kalen Carson continued his steady rise with another strong outing, and even in limited snaps, Savion Revel flashed real promise. And Darren Bland? He allowed a handful of completions, but they added up to only 34 yards. That's elite efficiency. This is exactly the version of the Cowboys' defense fans hope to see: disciplined, physical, and unshakably confident. Yes, it came against a struggling team, but dominance is dominance. Dallas handled business the way a playoff-caliber team should. Now the big question: who gets the game ball? There are plenty of worthy candidates, but one performance stood above the rest. In a game defined by grit and emotion, one defender set the tone from the opening whistle. Still, I want to hear your pick. Who earned the game ball for the Cowboys tonight? Drop your choice below. When you look back at the keys to victory, almost everything fell into place. The defensive front played with purpose. The interior duo created havoc snap after snap. And even the emotional moments, teammates honoring each other and lifting each other up, fueled the intensity Dallas brought to this matchup. On offense, the Cowboys showed up when it mattered. Meanwhile, the Raiders got nothing close to a redemption game from their quarterback. 27 of 42 with barely 6 yards per attempt, the Cowboys never let him breathe. The pressure was constant. Quinnen Williams, Osa Odigizwa, the edge rushers, everyone pinned their ears back and attacked. The run defense? Violent. 6 carries for 7 yards. Add in the checkdowns and the Raiders still couldn't crack 35 total yards from their primary back. That's total control. Did Dallas finish their drives? Absolutely. The Cowboys went 3 for 3 in the red zone before garbage time even began. Meanwhile, the Raiders opened the night 0 for 2 until the final minutes when the outcome was already sealed. Dallas executed, imposed their will, and never let the game drift out of their hands. And now, the focus turns toward a massive challenge: Cowboys vs. Eagles. We'll be back with full coverage as we prepare for one of the biggest games of the season.